Welcome to the Let's Eat Grandma Career Warrior Podcast.
All right, welcome to the 33rd episode of the Let's Eat Grandma Career Warrior Podcast, where our goal is not only to help you land your dream job, but to be the best professional you can be. Today we have another Just Ask Chris mini-sode where I answer a commonly asked question and give you the breakdown in under 15 minutes. We're going to address the question, how is your LinkedIn profile different from your resume? I was writing somebody's resume the other day, and afterward they asked me, can I just copy and paste everything from my resume? No, you cannot. There's some specific nuances to your LinkedIn profile and some things you should do that are actually different from your resume. And first of all, can I just say that I think LinkedIn is just great? I've heard so many success stories about job seekers being contacted on LinkedIn and just getting more notice than as if they were sending out their resume. All right, let's get to it. Let's educate you and make your job search a little bit better with our 33rd episode of the Career Warrior Podcast. I had a client who called me on the phone the other day, and he just immediately kind of just took me back, and he said, I don't know what you guys did. I just don't get it. So I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He goes, I simply don't understand. My LinkedIn profile was updated, and literally the next day I started getting contacts, and somebody actually gave me an interview. And after that, I got a job. Like, it just blows my mind. I didn't send out my resume one time. And I'm like, yeah, these things are totally possible in this day and age. It's almost like LinkedIn is doing the work for you if your profile is good enough and your skills are high enough in demand. And I also want to remind you that we have plenty of other articles on our blog at letseatgrandma.com. All you need to do is go on our blog and do a search for LinkedIn. You'll see a slew of articles that will cover all things LinkedIn, from your headshot to that pesky timeline. Okay, let's launch into it. How is your LinkedIn profile different from your resume? Fuller and more human. That's your answer. Bing, bam, bada, boom. We're done here. Okay, just kidding. We're going to get a little bit more detailed into that. But that's your answer. Really, the LinkedIn profile should be the fuller and more human-like version of your resume. Because at the end of the day, the resume is kind of a list of things you've done. It's pretty robotic. I think with LinkedIn, it is a much more great opportunity to kind of showcase who you are and fill out those details. So let's launch into those ways that LinkedIn can be fuller and more human than your standard resume. I'm going to go over some main ones. I actually do a workshop every other week here in Austin about LinkedIn profiles. I'm not going to go that in depth, but I'm going to cover some key points here, specifically ways that LinkedIn are different than your resume. So first being the summary statement, I think that's a good one to cover. The second being supplemental information. Third, your professional experiences. And for those visuals, because LinkedIn is very visual. So launching to number one, which is the summary statement. Like I said, it's something that I think trips a lot of people up because it is supposed to be this all-encompassing thing that describes you. Yes, it is that, but I kind of want to demystify it and show how you can end up writing a really solid summary. I believe that the LinkedIn summary should take up as much space as possible. LinkedIn gives you about 2,000 characters. I recommend trying to take up as many of those characters as possible. Try to take up all 2,000 if you can. Fuller. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Do not do this on your resume, which is a key difference. If you put paragraph upon paragraph of information in your resume, and I read that thing, I would just take it, throw it in the trash, because to be honest, your resume should be as short as possible. With your LinkedIn profile, it's a little bit different because it is a website. And at the end of the day, websites are a lot easier to scroll and expand and skim information than, well, documents. So my belief is that the summary should be longer. And that's because each word you include on that summary affords a special opportunity to capture keywords. SEO people, that's what I'm talking about. So when you do this specific thing, you are increasing the likelihood that your LinkedIn profile is going to show up at the top of recruiter searches, or possibly Google for that matter, because yeah, you can actually Google somebody's information and their LinkedIn profile can show up at the top. I'm also a big believer of writing the LinkedIn summary in first person. Almost reads like a cover letter. Not really, but it showcases a little bit more personality than if I were to just write a third-person bio. So, little pro tip. Reason number 2, your LinkedIn profile is way different than your resume, is that supplemental information. Okay, I get lots of questions about the resume saying, hey, should I include all my interest, all my volunteer experience, all my blah, blah, blah? I tend to lean towards no for the most part, and that's just because I think the resume should be as short as possible and as relevant as possible. For the most part, your volunteer experiences and your interests are not that relevant. That is, unless you're really trying to showcase that you are a good match for a company culture, or let's say, for instance, you are a salesman trying to show that personality, trying to show those soft skills that you like relating with people. I might showcase some of those interests in that case. But for the most part, say you are a financial advisor, I don't know, and that's not to rip on financial advisors, but I would err on the side of not including these things in your resume. When it comes to your LinkedIn profile, I have the opposite approach. I actually do recommend including more interests than less and more volunteer experiences. I don't know, influencers. There's a whole bunch of different things you can include in your LinkedIn. I recommend to go heavy and include almost every single thing that you can that is professional. So the reason being is every one of these pieces of supplemental information is an opportunity to make a connection with someone. So if I see that you volunteered for the same church that I volunteered for 2 years ago, those types of commonalities actually do make a difference. When I'm looking at your profile, I can actually instantly make a connection with you for that reason. So it's a numbers game, meaning the more of these things I have on my profile, the more likely I'll be able to make these connections with other people. Include them. It's not going to hurt you. I'm telling you, the LinkedIn profile should be fuller and more human. The third thing I want to address is your professional experiences. So this is where you get a lot of those copy and paste questions. So can I just copy my professional experiences from my resume and over to my LinkedIn? So for instance, if I was a sales manager at Google, for instance, and I have 7 bullet points about that on my resume, can I just copy and paste that over to my LinkedIn profile? So I say yes and also no. So the benefit of copying and pasting is you can show recruiters some consistency. A lot of the times recruiters are looking at your LinkedIn profile and your resume. So it's really important to make sure that you have that consistency so that they don't see you're a chameleon and you have like one face you're showing on your LinkedIn profile and another with your resume. I just don't think that's a good look, and it could turn off some recruiters. But at the same time, I think your resume is an opportunity to be a little bit more targeted than your LinkedIn profile. So like I said, with your resume, you want to cut that information and get more targeted. With your LinkedIn profile, at least when I'm writing professionally, I tend to include more information and to get a little bit broader. So let's delve into a quick example. Say I'm applying to 2 different positions. So I'm applying for a sales manager position and I'm applying for a sales representative position. These are 2 very different positions with different requirements and a whole different skill set. Not entirely different, but fairly different. So with my resumes, I would write one resume for a sales manager position, and I would write another resume for a sales representative position. What do you do with your LinkedIn? You only have one. So again, with the point, try to get a little bit more broad with that LinkedIn profile. So under your professional experiences, I might include bullet points that encompass my sales representative experience and skill set, and also try to include those bullet points for my sales manager experience and skill set. So I think it is okay to include more bullet points and to go a little bit more broad in that LinkedIn section right there. Okay. If this confuses you, don't get too intimidated. We have plenty of other resources that you can look into, namely our blog and the other podcast episodes that I'm going to talk about. All right, final point about LinkedIn, and this is the beauty of LinkedIn and being online in general. It's a lot more visual. So sometimes I receive these resumes that are just, let's just say they're very colorful. And I'm not saying they're bad. For the most part, I tend to stay away from those super fancy visual resumes with all these wacky designs and things like that. I definitely do not like the resumes with the picture at the top, especially if the picture does not look good. It's a very European thing, but here in the United States, we tend to stay away from that. With LinkedIn, I would say there's your opportunity to be more visual. there's your opportunity to have a really good headshot to showcase how good you look. Well, here's your opportunity to have a really good cover photo at the top that can also add a little bit of personality and flair. With the resumes, try to stay away from that stuff unless, like I said, the company culture may ask for that kind of thing. If it's a really kind of kooky out there company that asks you for visuals and creative type of elements, I think it's fine. But I would mostly save that stuff for your LinkedIn profile. So that being said, make sure that your headshot is very good. It's the first thing in a lot of cases that recruiters are going to see is that headshot. If you don't have a headshot, or if it's not even visible in your LinkedIn profile, I think that's even worse because it just it's not very memorable and it doesn't look that professional. So make sure you have a good headshot that you're showcasing the people that are scrolling through and looking for really good candidates on LinkedIn. Your cover photo is optional, but I think it is a good opportunity to showcase a little bit of personality. Make sure your company logos are next to all of your professional experiences. And you can do that by making sure that you hyperlink the appropriate company that you've worked for in the past. All right, is that enough for visuals? I thought so. I'd say these are the best ways that I can explain how a LinkedIn profile should be different from a resume. Overall, it should be more broad. And it really should showcase those human traits that you have. So showcasing those interests, the volunteer experience, having a really good picture, I think makes a difference and can go a long way. And in general, trying to capture as many of the different types of positions that you'll be applying for recently. If you consider yourself the jack of all trades and you're applying for a bunch of different positions, like 9 or 10 different positions, and you really don't know where you're going, maybe now's the time to see a career coach who might be able to give you some sort of guidance and help you to get a little bit more refined in your job search strategy. So I highly recommend going to check out our website, letseatgrandma.com, because we do have a whole slew of articles, like I said, on your LinkedIn profile. It's going to do a lot more justice, especially for you visual people who need to see these things. We have content about how to write a good headline, content on how to write a good summary, and we even partnered up with a local, he's actually amazing. He's a photographer in New York City to talk about how to get a really good headshot and what that means and what that looks like. So ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our 33rd episode of the Let's Eat Grandma Career Warrior podcast. This was a Just Ask Chris mini-sode number 5. Like I said, we try to keep those short just so we can answer those questions as quickly as possible because we know you got places to go, but you have stuff to know. And this is one of those things. All right, guys, please take care and enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you later. And for more on your job search, make sure to check out letseatgrandma.com. That's where you can find our blog, where we post the podcast show notes and so many more articles that will help you in your job search. You can also check out our resume services if you are interested in getting your resume professionally reworked. And please make sure to show us some love by jumping onto iTunes and leaving us a rating. The support from my fellow warriors will show the world how great this podcast is and help other people in their job search. Pay it forward. Thanks, guys, for being true warriors, and thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next week.